Welcome to the Pandemonium Witches podcast, where the ADHD has just a touch of the tism, where the true crime is just as scary as the hauntings and unsolved cases, and the hosts never stay on topic for long. I'm Kat.
I'm Rachel.
I'm Em.
And I'm Meg.
We are the Pandemonium.
I
mean, putting on pants is what I'm going on. It's a daddy-daughter day, so I have to put on pants. But no, this is my hydration station.
Look at that. I am so proud.
This is my current.
We haven't even started yet. Have you set up your hydration stations?
And
wait, it gets even better. Because I was sick. I had the plague. And the plague is a cold on top of a double ear infection. So I did what any normal person would do. I had them give me the peanut butter shot.
I mean, it works.
I didn't have to use my insurance.
Because, they were just going to have to get rid of it anyways.
And, okay, so I've ordered the Bicillin. First of all, Bicillin, the adult dose. It's like, for a box of 5, is like $7,000. But yeah, I got these. Because I couldn't stomach anything else.
You do what you can.
Do you know how you're supposed to cook those, right?
You're supposed to cook. I just thawed them. I didn't even thaw them. I just ate them straight up, just crunchy out of the freezer.
So we figured it out, thanks to Trey, that we have to be muted if we're not talking, because it you can hear everything, and then the echoes more. So yeah, with Uncrustables, you're actually supposed to cook them. Look on the back, turn the box over. Look at the instructions. There's a thing with instructions. No, look on the actual, it probably is on the package. Pull out the package. To cook.
Thaw for 30 to 60 minutes, eat within 8 to 10 hours, do not microwave.
Hold on.
That's all it says.
Hold on.
You mean to tell me I'm supposed to cook these? Do I dip them in oil and fry them? Like...
Confused. I didn't realize that you were supposed to cook a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. New things to learn.
In the air fryer or pan frying, you're supposed to crisp it.
You're supposed to crisp it in an air fryer or on a pan. This isn't a grilled cheese.
No, but that sounds great, because I used to do that. So, like, when I was younger, my mom taught me this trick where you would, You would toast your bread, and then you would put your peanut butter and jelly on it, and it gave it a different flavor. It elevated the experience of pour.
Typical Sunday night.
But I don't have an air fryer, and I'm too lazy to drag out my pan in the middle of a podcast.
That's valid.
So we did do it a little bit early, but have you taken your meds?
Yes.
Grab your medication. Yes.
Okay, we went through this last Sunday, where I went through the entire episode and all of the with-its. Dividing my meds, I have to put all my meds back in a container because it has been 1 week and I have not, drumroll please, I have not missed a single dose of meds.
Hey! That's good.
Maybe it's because I chugged NyQuil, I don't know, but I have not missed a single dose.
Well, Meg is not with us today. It's just the feral threesome. So we're going to go ahead and do the trigger warning, of course, after we record and everything like that. This is a Pandemonium Witches podcast trigger warning. The following episode contains graphic violence and gruesome depictions. Listener discretion is advised.
Definitely trigger warning.
Hmm?
I said definitely trigger warning.
I thought it wasn't muted, so I thought you were giving me, like, the evil eye, and I was like, oh wait, I'm muted, it's fine.
Yeah, no evil eye. No. You're fine. But today was sent to us by the husband. So he was at work and he was watching on his lunch break one of the reels, and I'll send you the reel. Give me 1 second. Me and him send each other a metric fuck ton of reels. So let me just scroll through. I gotta find it. We're getting into it pretty early. We're not even at 7 minutes, but this is the case that we're going to discuss today. This case is not technically still open because he is deceased, which is good.
Can we call him Uncrustable?
No. His name's John.
Man, I was hoping we could call him Krusty or something.
So today's story was sent to me by my husband, who thought, oh my God, this is terrible. Let me send it to my wife, who will also not only find it terrible, but interesting as well.
I love how that is how you are known in the military group chat. That's terrible! My wife would love it. I can't hear you.
Not the military group chat, just him.
10 out of 10.
All right, so today's story is based out of Germany, Palo Alto, Santa Clara County, and Stockton, California. This case has only been covered on podcasts such as The First Degree, The Stanford Predator, which is their local station, Crime at Bedtime, which they have very soothing voices. I listen to it. The Generation Y podcast, and now us. So not a lot. So, as Emily says.
Do you want me to do it?
Yes.
No.
We already did the trigger warning. I do have to add in. There is child SA. There is physical abuse. There is quite a few graphic things. I'm going to try not to go into too much detail, but I did break this up into victims. So we do talk a lot about them and not as much about him, which was told to me that they prefer. Yes. So his name is John Arthur Getreu. He was born on August 26th, 1944. Hold on. I left my book. Hold on.
In front of my grape jelly sandwich.
Did you see I cleaned my room?
I'm very proud of you.
It looks so nice. Not that it looked nice before, but it looks even nicer.
There's nothing on the floor.
Also,
no doom boxes.
No doom boxes, because puppies like doom boxes. Also, can we just appreciate all of the little memes that I send as you're talking?
Where?
It's in the chaos chat.
I don't.
Oh, bless your pea picking heart.
Now it's in there.
Is it Frank?
No, it just takes a second. So, all right. Going back to the story. Anyways, August 26th. I didn't write it down. He's a Virgo. Okay. We don't mind Virgos. We just don't like them. So Virgos are practical and helpful, but they're also uncompassionate, opinionated, clingy, and non-responsive. I mean, sounds about right.
I know 2 Virgos who are like the opposite of that, but they have trauma.
It's the spicy brain. So he was one of 4 children of Army serviceman Charles J. Getreu. I didn't find a lot on the siblings, but I did find more on him. Due to his father's military career, the family frequently relocated, as most military personnel do, living in places such as Japan, Hawaii, and North Carolina. That comes into point later. So remember that. In 1960, Charles was transferred to West Germany. The family settled into a town of, I can't pronounce that, so we're going to go to good old Google. You ready? Kreuznach. Bad Kreuznach.
That's definitely not what I heard. It was just a
It's Kreuznach. Bad Kreuznach. It's in Germany. So John spent his teenage years there, and he attended the Bad Kreuznach American High School, which was on base, with many other children of military servicemen and women. So after 3 years, he graduated from high school in June of 1963. John was 18, and he attended a school dance where he met our first victim today. Meet Margaret Lillian Williams. She was born on February 26, 1948 in Japan on base. I have a few other pictures of her, which I'll be posting on the actual thing. All right, so I also have phrases from the family later. Margaret Lillian Williams was born February 26, 1948 in Japan. She was the youngest daughter of U.S. Army Chaplain Lieutenant Colonel Robert Williams, who was stationed in Bad Kreuznach. Her brother Evan Williams later became a pastor and was deeply affected by her tragic death. She really was sweet. She was one of the nicest people. Her brother had stated, go to that. Marianne, which is the sister, every time I hear people talk about their sisters or doing things with their sisters, I'm resentful that I couldn't, because we really weren't that close growing up. I felt like once she wasn't an adult and I wasn't an adult, that would change, and it certainly would. It would have done that, but I didn't get the chance. Evan also stated she was a very kind and caring person. She stated at some point she wanted to become a medical missionary, and that she was a reflective of being a person. She wanted to do things for others and care about other people, and that showed her personality and my relationship with her. So she was a very nice person.
makes you feel bad for her siblings because they never got a adult relationship with her. A little bit of both.
I can actually hear you. Bless you.
That's blood.
Emily.
I told you it's the plague.
And yes, it is better. So Margaret's mother and siblings were reported to have been close-knit, very loving, and through most personal accounts, they focus on the grief following her death, particularly on Evan and Marianne, who were most affected. They grew up in overseas, so they weren't really in the U.S. all that often. Her family was known for hosting and creating an environment of wealth and community despite their relocations. So they often had family dinner night like we used to. Social gatherings, family dinners, holiday parties. She was described by her brother as caring and joyful and someone who brought light and happiness. But on June 8th, Margaret attended a school dance at the high school. She was graduating, and although she was graduating at a very young age, she still had peers in their late teens. One of the peers was John, who asked to walk with her for a while. The after-school event ended at 10:30. Her parents expected her home by 11 because she typically would walk home by herself. It was a very safe area. Her brother Evan stated, "My father later wrote about how it started to rain. He drove to the youth center to get her, but she had already left just 5 minutes before he had arrived. When she didn't come home, they hoped maybe she stopped to wait out the rain. But when the dance ended, John took her to the campus baseball field where he brutally assaulted, raped, and beat her. She sustained a severe head injury. She had later succumbed to her complications. Her brother stated by midnight they knew something was wrong and they called the authorities. Her body was found at 1:11 a.m. Note, John later testified in court, quote, "I raped her, but it did not occur to me that I could have killed her. I just wanted to knock her out."
What the fuck? Sorry, my mic didn't unmute.
Nope, go on.
You're sure? Because Billy Mays here.
Oh, wait, there's more!
Several witnesses placed Margaret and John together that night. This made him the first and only suspect to the MPs and German officials. Just think about that for a second.
How fucked do you gotta be to get caught by both the MPs and the German the German police?
So John was immediately arrested. He initially denied meeting her at all and later admitted under questioning that he had consensual sex with Margaret and denied killing her. So, a year later, June 1964, he was found guilty on all counts and only 10 years of imprisonment, which was the maximum sentence available under West German law at the time.
Vigilante justice. Someone give him the Batman and Robin treatment.
It is discussed. It is discussed. So it didn't happen, but after sentencing, John expressed severe remorse about his crime and apologized to the victim's family members. Evan Williams, the victim's brother, is a retired pastor now living in Tennessee. This part is very important. Do you see this shit, Nicki Minaj? Yes. Yes, I do. Okay. So he contacted the FBI years before he had gotten arrested because, newsflash, he didn't get arrested until 2018. Hold on. So he gets out. He's in Germany, gets arrested, gets out. All right. He warned the FBI that he feared that John would kill again. And you're reading your comics again, aren't you? No?
She's sending memes. And meanwhile, I'm laughing because the cat's outside the door meowing.
Mine is scratching himself on my clean laundry.
Always the clean laundry,
Always
never the dirty.
All right. So he had already been convicted of murdering Margaret when Evan had warned them. He says, "I'm calling to tell you about a man in California who's committed murder, and the reason I know that he is because he killed my sister in 63. Margaret brought so much joy to my family. She was kind, caring, and when she died, some of the joy left with her." Marianne then said, "My mother couldn't bear to see Margaret's body. We had a closed casket, and for a long time, I didn't believe she was actually gone. I looked for her everywhere." So March 7th, 1969, John had just only served 6 years of his 10-year sentence, and he was released and ordered by the government, United States and German, to leave the country within 24 hours.
He was extradited?
But did he actually leave the country within 24 hours? Oh, good. Sometimes that doesn't happen.
So, Evans stated they put him on a plane the very next day. It felt like Germany was just washing their hands of him. So, years later, the thought of John living freely began to gnaw at Evan. So, Evan started his own internet sleuthing and he started researching online. Her camera's off. I'll probably put a little technical difficulty screen over her.
It's Dakota has to get up and feed the cat, so.
So, he found John's name and age, found out where he was living in California. It made me wonder, could he be the Golden State Killer, which we will discuss later. I do have his information. I have been working on it. Evan later learned that the Golden State Killer was someone else completely different, which we all know is Joseph D. Angelo. He wasn't wrong to suspect that John might still be dangerous. So let's talk about Evan. Let's go back to John. Let's go back to the real asshole in the story. So he was paroled and released on March 7th, 1969. He left West Germany and returned to the United States, settling in Reno, Nevada. All right, so we got more pictures. Let's find her. Where'd she go? This is important. Let me. Emily, oh, those freaking pictures. All right, so meet. Back up. I have to go from page to page, guys. Sorry. All right, so meet Susan and her daughter Kathy. She was a single mother, and the family lived off and on in Palo Alto near the Stanford campus from 1971 to 75. The reason I know so much about the Stanford campus and everything around there, my dad did the HVAC system for Stanford, Lawrence Livermore Labs, and a couple of the malls in the area, and he's very proud because he's like, I climbed up in those rafters. Look at that beautiful thing that I made.
My brother's the same way with the parking garage of the UF hospital, because when he first started welding, he made the support bars, like, so your car doesn't like off it. So every time he drives by it, I did that. Did I ever tell you guys the crane story? Anyway, I did that.
Well, so researching this, I was like, I know these places. I've been to these places. I have hiked in these places. So, of course, during this period and having no proper education, John was forced to make living as a load-skilled laborer in jobs varying from security guard, carpenter, and laboratory technician at Mills Hospital. So in the mid-1970s, John joined Boy Scouts of America. Oops.
I thought you were going to say
I feel like
Boys
this
to
is
Men.
going to be horrible. This is going to just be horrible. I just know it.
Yeah. It's so he got a job as counselor, organizing camps and camping trips in his spare time. To the outside world, John was a respected husband, stepfather, and Boy Scout leader, which I do have a picture. So this is what he looked like.
Perfect timing on the meme. Perfect timing.
I know for a fact he looks like Dennis Rader. So, go back. I should have two separate, hold on. I'm going to open a separate tab that's just pictures and information. Okay. All right. We're going back up. So, his stepdaughter, Kathy, said that he was something else entirely and that he was a monster. Meanwhile, meet Lisa Marie Perloff.
She's pretty. And she was pretty.
Are you okay, Em? Ah, okay. So, that's Lisa Marie. She is the second victim in this story. I have to keep going from page to page, so bear with me. So Lisa Marie, on February 13th, 1973, the day before Valentine's Day, Stanford honors graduate Lisa Perloff, then 21, called her mother from the law library where she was driving home from, which was a short trip from the Stanford campus. So the law library in Palo Alto is literally like less than a mile or two down the road. And Emily has seen pictures from where I lived in that area, and it's like Gotham. It's a sprawling metropolis, but there's lots of green areas. So, Leslie was a recent Stanford graduate and was working as a law library clerk. Like any Stanford alumni, she had great ambitions and lofty goals for her life, and she had dreamt to attend law school and make a positive impact in the world. So she had left her place in Palo Alto, where she was working, shortly after the law library closed, which isn't too late. It's roughly around 7:30, 8 o'clock. Sadly, she never made it home. She was killed just months after she had lost her father to cancer.
And I know that pain.
Yeah. So her 1972 orange Chevy Nova was found abandoned at the gate of an old quarry off of Old Page Mill Road in Santa Clara County. The picture that I just sent you is actually how they found her car. That's her car. That's an actual crime photo. February 16th, 1973. It wasn't until 3 days later when they found, whoops, wrong photo. Leslie's body. So they found it beneath an oak tree that was overlooking Stanford University. I want you guys to remember this for later. She was found a mile from where another victim's body would be discovered a following year.
So, correct me if I'm wrong, but don't killers typically have like this in criminal minds? Yeah, they have a hunting zone, and it's typically, depending on how confident they are, it can be like a couple hundred feet to a couple of miles.
10 to 15 months.
Okay. So his confidence zone was like what, 2 to 5 miles? That
Yeah.
makes me sick just saying that. And I guess like the only, and again, makes me, like, it feels morbid saying, but I feel like the only silver lining is like at least now she is with her dad, you know, but fuck that guy.
100%. So she had been strangled with a floral scarf of hers that she was wearing, and it was tightly knotted around her neck, showing clear signs of SA, along with other physical trauma. I left it at that because it was researching this and having hiked in those foothills and finding solace in where it was, and then researching this through all of those happy memories out the window. I was like,
Especially with everything that you were going through. Just, and then looking back now and realizing, yeah, it wasn't as peaceful as you thought it was.
no, not at all. And I mean, Emily, stop hurting yourself.
Comedic, comedic interlude brought to you by a really shitty shoulder. I'm so sorry.
It's fine. I dislocated my shoulder the other day, so every time I move my arm like that, you can hear it cracking. So I'm trying not to move my right arm as much as humanly possible. So, um, according to the Santa Clara County coroner, Dr. Richard Mason, Leslie had been viciously beaten. Both of her eyes had been swollen shut, her nose had been broken, and her underthings, stockings, and coverings were shoved down her throat. Her injuries suggested prolonged and brutal torture before her death. She died a horrifically horrible and demeaning death, and it was not short. Let me just tell you that. So it was almost a year before John struck again. So her name was Janet Ann Taylor. So Janet Ann was also 21 at the time of her death. And where she died, she was on her way to La Honda, which is actually pretty well known in that area. She was a sophomore at Stanford and the daughter of legendary Stanford athletic director Chuck Taylor. Um, anyone who was anyone in Silicon Valley knew about Chuck Taylor. Anyways, Janet was a student at nearby Canada College, and not a college in Canada. It's called Canada College. It's a public community college in Redwood City, California. Excuse me. I have indigestion, and I haven't even eaten breakfast yet. And he very much did have a type. They all had brown hair. They were all very thin, very beautiful women. Um, but this community college in Redwood City is located on 131 acres in the western part of Redwood City. Yes, it is still open to this day, and yes, it is very pretty.
And very haunted.
Also, with all the talking that I'm doing, if you guys aren't hydrating, oh, pause. We didn't even talk about Michaela, who watches our podcast while she manic cleans the entire freaking house.
Good for you, Michaela.
We love that. Let me hold on. Where's her picture? I know I have it here. So here's the picture of our conversation. So I'm gonna post I already talked to her about it and sent her the things, but she goes, I always play a video while I'm cleaning. And I said, oh my God, it makes me so happy. She goes, spooky vibes and real crime is my shit when I need to get stuff done. I said, listen, I love that because same. We're taking a poll for episode 100. And I said, we were thinking about making it 2 killers, making an exceptionally long one because we do have episode 100 coming up around the corner. She's amazing. I love Michaela. She's one of the very few wives that checks in on me. Her, Georgie, and Sam all check in on me, which is nice. Anyways, so Janet was last seen by her best friend Debbie Adams, which is a very popular name apparently, and I could not find any photos of Miss Debbie or Miss Janet together. So they were saying that she was on the Stanford campus the night before she went missing. Janet's car was in the shop. So she decided to go on foot, according to Debbie's testimony. She got anxious to get there to feed her puppy, so she resolved to hitchhike. Important notice. As female empowerment was on the rise, young women hitchhiking alone in the 70s was a normal occurrence, especially in idyllic Northern California. Because that's where how many women went missing because of how many serial killers?
Okay, female empowerment, all for it. Feminist year, 2025. Don't do that, ladies. Don't do that.
And if you do, be the whole threat.
Be crazy. Look at them and go, you smell nice. Make them uncomfortable. Like, make it to where they don't want to be near you.
Or as Emily did one night when her and I were going out to dinner. She looked like a whole butch, okay? I looked pretty. I dressed up. I did my hair. I did my makeup. I had a full... You remember that. Speaking of, I did my hair. It's blue now. She was barking at the men in the parking lot. Full on, hunched over, barking. Be the whole threat.
As we do. As we do.
As Miss Kitty once said, terrify the men.
Like, if you're gonna hitchhike, you're gonna hitchhike. We can't tell you not to. We can tell you to be safe about it. Use your brain. Carry a people opener. Like a can opener, carry a people opener.
The fact that you just compared people to a can of beans.
I was thinking SpaghettiOs, but...
SpaghettiOs, great. Wonderful. We love SpaghettiOs. At least he does.
I mean, but she's not wrong, though. I mean, they open up easily to, like, cans. I wouldn't know. I'm just assuming because true crime.
Remember, 5th intercostal rib. Up and to the left. We're not giving you ideas. Allegedly.
We're just telling you how to stay safe.
I'm giving you ideas.
Emily. Anyways, so March 24th, 1974 was the last night that she was seen on campus. She was attempting to hitchhike to her home in La Honda, which isn't too far away. It's like maybe a few miles. It's not too far. But it is up in the hills. Neither Janet nor her friend Debbie feared for their safety, but that was starting to change because this was when a lot of the serial killers were starting to target women, like the dating game killer, Ted Bundy, Ed Kemper, all of those guys, right? So March 25th, 1974, a milk truck driver found her body in that picture that I sent you of La Honda. They found her body in a roadside ditch off of Sand Hill Road near Manzanita Way along Stanford University. University. English is hard. All right.
And take 2.
So authorities were called and it was determined that she had been strangled, likely by her own turtleneck, which was a ribbed turtleneck sweater, and it left imprinted ribbing on her neck. She had also been severely beaten and had facial injuries that were very visible. It was also stated when she was found, she was fully clothed except for her shoes, and her purse was missing as well. Her feet were bare and dry despite the ground being wet, indicating that the body had moved or left carefully where her feet were bare and dry despite the wet ground beneath her. Her rain jacket was torn on the shoulder. Her shirt was ripped, and her green corduroy pants, later critical evidence, contained a tiny tear. DNA from those pants was instrumental in later identifying her killer. So the ones that I sent in the group chat are for the one that we talked about in a little bit. But as you can see, everything is meticulously saved. Despite striking similarities between the murders of Leslie and Janet, investigators at the time could not make a connection. I call bullshit.
It just, like, I realize DNA and everything wasn't that great then, but still, like, there's some kind of connection there.
That's not even the worst part. Are you good? Are you guys okay? Can I?
Of course, it's not the worst part. There's always more.
You guys good? All right. Also, to our listeners, if you need a bereavement, like a break, and you just need to take a moment, I totally get it. Because I needed to take a moment for this. Why, Emily? What are you doing?
Upstairs neighbors are playing elephant soccer again.
Right. We did talk about that the other day.
I was like, why are we flipping off the gods?
She's not flipping off the gods. She knows better. There was a whole conversation that happened 2 days ago about that.
But I didn't realize she had upstairs neighbors, so that's what my first thought was.
There was a whole conversation that happened last night about the gods and los spookidos, and I'll send you the video.
Nope. No. Mm-mm. We're not discussing that today. Nope.
It was kind of funny.
It was kind of funny. So, with no solid leads, fear had actually gripped the Stanford community, and whispers of a serial killer stalking young women began to take root. So, a lot of the women in the area started doing the buddy system, and everybody was walking together, going to school together. Hitchhiking in that area dropped to a low minimum. And as years turned into decades, both cases went cold, eventually becoming known as the Stanford murders. There is a documentary on this, and there are a few shows about it, but everybody knows Oxygen, Lifetime, that kind of stuff. They also made a whole series of news articles about this as well. I mean, so a ton of stuff had come out. In 1975, John was charged with S.A.ing a 17-year-old female explorer scout and then was later convicted. That's the pants and shoes that I sent you guys. Some of the charges were dropped after a mutual agreement was reached between John and the victim. As a result of his conviction, he received a minor prison sentence and an administrative fine. Mhm.
I hate it.
Oh, I did too. Another result of his conviction, Susan divorced him. Why? Not just because of his conviction, but because of what her daughter Kathy said in the matter. Kathy, now age 58, alleges that John S.'ed her for nearly a decade, stating that she was only 6 years old when the abuse started.
Absolutely disgusting. He needs to be under the prison.
Okay, so the Batman and Robin treatment. So let's go back to that.
But wait.
Jam wow.
So,
Broke cat.
ShamWow. So, she said in an interview, he made me touch him. He told me if I told anyone, he would hurt my mother, and I believed him. He made it clear he had that kind of power. She's muted.
For those that are just listening to the audio, M just went off on a tirade while muted. It was funny, but totally understandable.
And it was, oh, okay. So, Kathy never told anyone at the time as she was paralyzed by fear. Quote, the only thing that I believed would ever stop him was his death. That was the only way I thought I would be free. So in 1977, everything changed when Susan walked in and witnessed the abuse with her own eyeballs.
I'm glad it was finally found out.
She didn't kill him.
She should have, but, hindsight's 2020.
Fucking sorry? She did. No, no. If that was my baby, and I walked into, that dad in Texas that got off scot-free when that would be me.
He still had to pay a fine, but regardless,
I'll pay a fine.
I understand. Hold on. That moment was the worst, Kathy said, and the best day of my life because my mom knew it, finally, and it could stop. Her mother said, I didn't know what to do. I was devastated. The idea that someone could do this to a child horrified me. So Susan ended the marriage immediately, but never filed charges. All three of us are moms. Rachel, you are a fur baby mom. I am an adopted feral mom. Emily, you have feral children, but you are still a mom. We're all disgusted. It is agreed.
My phone just alerted me that my blood pressure spiked. And that my heart rate spiked.
Notice my watch is not on. Also, shiny new ring. Anyways, my husband bought me a new one because the other one kept scratching him. So, anyways, so John had never been charged in any connection of Kathy's claims, though both she and her mother testified against him at his most recent murder trial. When asked by several news outlets whether John denied the allegations of his abuse, his defense attorney declined to comment. But you remember Leslie and Janet? For nearly 50 years, the families of Leslie and Janet waited, clinging to a sheer small sense of hope that justice would one day arrive. I like to delay gratification and tell you guys everything that I find. So, on October of 1978, it had only been a few months since he had divorced his first wife, Susan. John married his second wife, Linda Caputo, which I couldn't find a lot of pictures for her. I found one. It was kind of grainy. I didn't really think about saving it. But they had 2 children named Erin and a daughter that I wasn't able to find her name. But here is a picture with him and his son, Aaron. Also agreed. If there is abuse happening, tell a trusted adult. That is definitely something that we do discuss. Okay, this.
Teachers, medical professionals, first responders, we are all mandated reporters. So even if you don't trust your parents, tell your teacher. If you don't trust your teacher, tell your nurse. Don't trust your nurse. Go up to the cutest looking firefighter you can find and go, "Hello, sir. I have a problem." And they will help you.
Also mandated reporters, although they are very frowned upon in public culture, believe it or not, church, priests, nuns, deacons, all of that. They're all mandated reporters as well.
I'm not sure if it's still true. I'll have to double check this real quick. Librarians, not technically mandated, but highly recommended reporters.
They do first responder and public safety courses for most librarians. I know 4. Technically, I know 3, but neither here nor there. So they had 2 children named Aaron and a daughter. John showed no signs of mental illness or suspicious behavior by his friends or his children, and he was generally well regarded by people around him, as most serial killers are, apparently. So he was in Ohio at this time from 78 into the late 80s. So John left Ohio, moved back to California, this time settling in Alameda County. There is no record of any women tied to him at that time. So I'm thinking, this is just me speculating because there's not a lot of information, that he subjected his wife to the abuse that he wanted to inflict on other people. So 2003, his second wife died from cancer. And in 2008, he married for the 3rd time. And I scoured documents. I scoured court documents, FBI files, everything like that. Mind you, these are the ones that are out to the public, so there's certain things that are blacked out. A lot of it has to do with her because she was there for a good chunk of the information. It protected her privacy, which is good for her. She didn't want her information out there, which I completely 100% understand. Well, this is what I texted my mother about. He joined the Fremont Elks Lodge, a patriotic fraternal order where he held the position of exalted ruler. In this position, he was responsible for supervising duties of the members. I confused this with the Masons, which they did have sort of similar type lodges, but like not really.
The new things we find out.
However, justice was finally catching up to John. Would you like to know how?
Yes, please. I would love to find out how he got his just desserts.
It's been just barrel rolled. Leslie Perloff's case was finally reopened in 2016. Do you guys remember when she died?
Wait. So 2018, her case was reopened?
2016.
2016.
19,
It was like the 1960 something?
1973.
Close enough.
I don't know if you heard that. Excuse the fuck out of me. I felt one coming up again, and I was like, I'm going to mute it just in case. I don't want you guys hearing a demon coming out from the bowels of my stomach. Anyways, so forensic evidence was collected beneath her fingernails more than 30 years earlier, and it had been preserved. And I
Yay, new DNA.
New DNA. So it was Sergeant No Cortez, who is a cold case detective and saved this case from going completely frigid. Sergeant Cortez championed DNA testing in the decades-old murder of Janet Taylor, which is Chuck Taylor's daughter. It was a brutal crime, he stated. I believe she fought with everything she had, scratching, biting, doing anything she could to survive. She wanted to live.
Emma's dipping out, so then it would be the two amigos.
I apologize. Also, did no one notice I changed my name?
Feral cousin.
Because we all family here.
In the club, we all fam. Anyway, I'm gonna go have my father-daughter day with my adopted dad. So I love
Give
you
him
all.
a hug from me. Tell him I'm sorry I didn't call him back yesterday, but I'll call him either today or tomorrow.
Got you. All right. Bye.
And then there were two.
The two last survivors.
All right, you ready to hear about what happened?
Yes and no.
Okay. So, Sergeant Cortez, inspired by the emerging role of ancestry websites, because this was right when Ancestry.com got huge. So he revisited the original evidence and uncovered a critical DNA note. The DNA had been preserved beneath each of Taylor's 10 fingernails. All 10 had DNA traces. So his work was backed by Santa Clara County Sheriff Lori Smith, who, after becoming California's first female sheriff in 1996, she started making the Stanford area murders a priority to solve them in their entirety.
So I just want to say, good for this girl for making sure she did not go down without a fight. Like, to get DNA under all 10 fingernails means she was clawing the shit out of him. And good for her.
I mean, I took self-defense classes in college. It was mandated if you were taking a certain class you had to take. So if you took this one psychology class, you had to take self-defense, this one class. His whole thing was, there's just talking about it gives me goosebumps. The one thing that he preached the first day is that he goes, there's going to be a time where you might not be able to get away. You might not be safe. Bite, kick, scratch, claw, get whatever you can, because there's no way he can get it out from like holes in your teeth and everything like that. Do whatever you can. And he actually got me out of that last abusive relationship before I moved to Sonoma. Bless you, Steve. Like, seriously. I know he doesn't listen to this, but if he ever does. So, Sergeant No Cortez sent the nail clippings from Janet to a private lab called Paraben Nanolabs. This is a huge lab. Not like Lawrence Livermore Labs, but it's still a huge scientific lab out there. Months later, scientists were able to generate a full genetic profile from the DNA material underneath her nails. Paraben Nanolabs use genetic genealogy, thanks to 23andMe and Ancestry.com, to identify a suspect by the name of John Arthur Getreu. The odds of an error, 1 in 65 septillion. So needless to say, he learned that John had once worked as a technician at Stanford. Not only that, but that John had a violent history of rape and murder dating back to the 60s. So where do you think John was in 2016?
Still in the same area?
Still in the same area.
Because he had no reason to leave because he never got caught.
Right. He was still in the same area, and it really pissed me off. So he was still quietly living in the Bay Area. He had a house, cars, cats, dogs, whatever, whole 9 yards thing. So in order to confirm the match, Sergeant Cortez and his partner launched a sting operation. They followed John and his wife, also a Stanford graduate, to a coffee shop. Fun fact, did you know that if you discard something in a public waste bin, it's public property?
I did know that, thanks to Criminal Minds.
And CSI and SVU, and I'm watching it on Chicago PD, which we call Chicago.
Yes, because at that point it is property of the city, because it's a city trash can. So it's free game.
More you know, shooting star. So they decided to collect a discarded cup that John threw away in the trash. The DNA on it was a perfect match to the material from both Leslie Perloff's fingernails and Janet Taylor's green corduroy pants, which were previously analyzed by San Mateo criminologist Alice Hilker. So the evidence led directly to a specific date on November 20th, 2018, which I will link the YouTube video underneath, but I'm just going to pause so I can play a part so you can see it. So, of course, I'll put the YouTube video in the description. Guys, you need to watch it. There's like an interview and everything where he accidentally confesses. And I literally am watching it. I'm like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. Like, this was huge for me because, like, anybody who went to Stanford for anything, which I did, knows about this case, you know? So this happened on November 20th, 2018. Here's his nasty ass mugshot. Just, ugh. So he was arrested at his home in Hayward for the murder of 21-year-old Leslie Marie Perloff. A year later, May 16th, 2019, after following additional testing of his DNA, he was charged with another murder, that of 21-year-old Janet Taylor. Justice had finally arrived for Janet and Leslie. So following his identification by DNA, there were immediate suspicions that John was involved in another series of crimes, one involving Sharon Lucchesi, alleged that he attempted to kill her back in 1969, but she didn't die. She lived. In 69 or 70 in Hollywood, then 19-year-old Sharon Lucchesi encountered a man she later recognized who she believed to be John Getreu. She only identified him years later. She attended a Christian ministry event and was invited out by him. After getting into his car, instead of driving to the coffee shop, he stopped in a secluded area in the Hollywood Hills. Sharon recounted that he choked repeatedly all through the night, loosening his grip from time to time, allowing her to breathe until dawn. During the ordeal, he reportedly said, quote, "God told me to kill beautiful women who are a temptation to his Christian brothers," end quote. She described the terrifying hours-long ordeal before he suddenly let her go. Many years later, when she saw John's mugshot in the news report, she immediately recognized his eyes and face, claiming she had been looking 50 years for that face. Her recognition formed a part of the investigators' broader case. So, why is this information important? While no charges were filed in relation to her case, her account is seen by law enforcement as credible and may shed light on John's psychological motivations and behavioral patterns. A consistent pattern, her description, an isolated attack ending after hours of attempted violence, mirrors the other patterns in his violent history, including the rape and strangulation of other young women. No charges were filed in that case. But in 2021, John's trial for the murder of Janet Taylor began in the San Mateo County, and it lasted 3 weeks.
But also, I'm glad it was tried before the fires, because they could have lost everything.
So where they kept most of the evidence is in a temperature-controlled thing.
Basically, a building that's a fire safe.
Yeah, essentially. If fire breaks out inside it, though, on the other hand.
But that's perfect, though, because that's a great place to hold all the evidence.
Now, flooding is a different story. Okay, so Mind you, this was the first part because they start hearing the testimony and then they put it off and then they actually do the trial. So, mind you, this could have been a different case, but it lined up with right before I moved when I had to go in and they were like, anyways, so prosecutor John Stauffer described Janet's brutal murder and the essay, Motivated Attack, painted John as a man who lived a double life, as we're seeing a lot of our killers do. An outwardly respectful Palo Alto Boy Scout leader and his family. In reality, he was a convicted rapist and unaliver. In closing arguments, prosecutor Stauffer pointed to two previous victims, 17-year-old Diane Doe, who was raped and left alive, and 15-year-old Margaret Williams, whom John had murdered in Germany in 1963. So we haven't discussed Diane Doe. Diane Doe was the woman he sexually assaulted in 1975, and here's what's known from official records. Diane Doe was a teenager in a Boy Scouts Explorer troop where John was a leader. The Explorer troops had female members, so they learned certain Boy Scout activities and stuff like that. It was kind of cool. You know, they still have them, but not as prominent as it was in the 1970s. She said that John had raped her in her own home and threatened to kill her if she resisted. John's only known comments about this were dismissive remarks made decades later and appeared in court transcripts during his 2021 murder trial for the 1974 killing of Janet Taylor. When questioned in 2018 during the cold case investigation related to the Stanford murders, John was asked about a 1975 conviction involving Diane Doe. His response was completely dismissive. Quote, "I was accused, interviewed, and found guilty. I didn't serve any time. It was so piddly. It was ridiculous."
I wish something had happened while he was being held.
You know, wishes are made out of hopes and hand grenades, so we can hope, but no. Things do happen, though. He minimized the crime against Diane, incorrectly stating he didn't serve any time, even though he had served 6 months of weekend jail time. Weekend jail time. Think about that.
Like, that shouldn't even be an option. I swear.
We both agree on that. He had served 6 months of weekend jail time and paid a fine for statutory rape. The actual crime involved rape and attempted strangulation, and the victim's testimony played a key role in showing his long pattern of violence. So there are no personal letters, interviews, or jailhouse confessions where John gives detailed comments about Diane Doe. His remarks were limited to police interrogation recordings, brief mentions in court, and there was no expression of remorse or deeper explanation has ever been documented. So, of course, prosecutor Stauffer emphasized the pattern of violence. He took Janet with the intent to rape her, attacked her, tore her clothes, struck her repeatedly in the face, and strangled her. So John's link to the DNA found on her clothes and body has brought long-awaited closure to Janet's case, one made possible by dramatic advancements in forensic DNA technology. This was the same technology that breathed life into the new investigation of Leslie Perloff's murder, which John had pleaded not guilty. So, his declining health and court delays have clouded the timeline of his trial, but it continued onward. So, September 14th, 2021, San Mateo County jury took over an hour to convict the 77-year-old former Stanford employee on first-degree murder and inflicting great bodily harm. Can we just... John was found guilty on September 15th by all counts of the jury verdict and sentenced to life imprisonment without the chance of parole. He was then transferred to Santa Clara County, where he was to stand trial for the murder of Leslie. He now faced 25 years to life in prison, with sentencing scheduled for November 3rd, 2021. Per all the news sources I reviewed, his defense attorney declined to comment to anyone. Diane Perloff, Leslie's younger sister, flew in from LA to witness the trial. She was leaving the courthouse and she learned the jury had returned a verdict. Quote, "Today was justice for Janet, Leslie, Diane, and Margaret. Though their lives were stolen, the persistence of detectives and progress in forensic science gives me hope that more lives will be saved and more predators brought to justice. This is not the end. We're moving forward. I want a trial for my sister's case. No plea deals. The photographs of what John did to Janet and Leslie are horrifying. I want the world to see them, to understand what exactly kind of monster he is. I have the photos. I did not save them. They are truly disgusting, and I will not be putting them on this YouTube."
You. If our listeners choose to go look that up, that is entirely on them, but we are not supplying it for them.
If they want to, his case file is public. You can look at the evidence that was at his trial. I would not recommend it because I had to watch a lot of Disney after, as I most often do. Outside the courthouse, Diane hugged Sergeant Cortez, who kept the lines of communication open for all the families involved, which is fantastic. She had stated, when contacted for comment, John's son, Aaron, expressed sympathy for the victims and their family. So let me just pull something up real quick. Let me go up. It's sideways, but that's one of the news articles. And then this was his last mugshot before he died. Aaron said this: "My family had no idea about my father's past. We only knew him as a loving father and grandfather, but science does not lie. I hope this conviction brings peace to the families he hurt so deeply." Grace Kong, I think her name's Kong, Kahng, February 2022. I got a lot of information from her. She and her team deep dived on this guy, and they full website and everything that she runs. I will post it in the captions. She alleged that she and several investigators identified John as the possible killer of Teresa Smith, who was murdered at her home in Newark, Ohio in 1980. She was a minor at the time. There's not a lot about her case that I could find, but what I did find was April 16th, 1980, Ohio State Route 16, east of Frazeysburg. A boy was riding his bike, came up on her body in a roadside bank around 7:30 p.m. She had been deceased for 24 to 36 hours, wearing a blue blouse and socks. Death was ruled as manual strangulation. It is not possible to determine whether SA occurred. John lived 2 blocks from her house at the time of her death. Investigators connected her case to John based on proximity and behavioral similarities between her death and confirmed his confirmed murders in California. Although no charges were filed, law enforcement treats her as a credible link in the broader pattern of violent crimes attributed to John Getreu. No formal charges were brought against John, but it did bring a connection to the case. So we talked earlier about his failing health, how it kept putting off the trial. His trial was suspended numerous times, and he was admitted to the prison hospital to undergo treatment for his health issues. Because even though they're in jail, they still get treatment.
Because we still have to make sure that they're alive to serve out their sentence.
Agreed. So it resumed in late 2022, but the 78-year-old John was forced to attend court proceedings from his hospital room via video link. So like Zoom. Are you ready?
As I'll ever be.
All right. On January 10th, 2023, he pled guilty to the murder of Leslie Perloff, admitting that he had killed her and as she resisted his attempts to rape her.
I hate it, but I'm glad the family's got the answers.
It took almost 30 years to get there, but it got there. He was later sentenced to an additional term of life imprisonment without the chance of parole. And on September 26, 2023, it was reported that John Arthur Getreu died in prison a few days prior on the 22nd, and no cause of death was specified, as it was linked that he had died of natural causes. And that is the horrible story of John Arthur Getreu. I do have a few other photos to send you. Oh no, my screen just reloaded. I have like 32 pages of notes, guys.
So she has a lot to shuffle through.
I do.
At least half of those are probably photos.
So this is what the FBI released, and it's a statement. I can read it if you want. Okay. So it says, on the morning of March 25th, 1974, the body of Janet Taylor was found dumped along Sand Hill Road, West Interstate 280. The murder investigation was assumed by San Mateo County Sheriff's Office, but for many years, Taylor's murder remained unsolved despite the efforts of law enforcement. The case was picked up again in 2017 when San Mateo County Office's cold case unit detectives reinitiated the investigation to Miss Taylor's murder. Evidence on the Taylor's case was submitted by investigators to San Mateo County Forensic Laboratory for forensic analysis. January 3rd, 2019, right before I moved, San Mateo County detectives received a report from San Mateo County Forensic Lab indicating that a partial male DNA profile was obtained and matched with the person named John Getreu. Getreu was already in custody on a separate homicide investigation in Santa Clara County. San Mateo County Sheriff's Office detectives recontacted numerous prior witnesses, located and interviewed new witnesses, processed evidence, consulted with the FBI, and conducted a deeper background check on John Getreu. August 11, 2021, the murder trial of Janet Taylor began and finished September 14th, 2021. Once the jury instructions were provided, Judge Robert D. Foyles took the jury just over an hour to deliberate. That's got to be mountains of evidence if it only took them under an hour.
I was like, an hour is still pretty quick because everybody has to agree, discuss it, say their piece, and then come to an agreement. So the fact they did it under an hour, they were like, yep, nope, we're done.
Yeah. And once the jury instructions were provided by Judge Foyles, at 4:30 p.m., the jury returned a verdict of guilty of PC 187A, first-degree murder, and the enhancement of PC 1203E3, infliction of great bodily injury. Sheriff Carlos said, though it's taken 47 years, investigators with the San Mateo County Sheriff's Office never wavered in their desire to bring justice to the family of Janet Taylor. through collaborative efforts of the investigation's cold case unit, Sheriff's Investigative Bureau, and the District Attorney's Office, we are proud to have finally secured a guilty verdict and closure in this horrific case. I would finally like to thank the jury for their hard work and dedication in seeking out the truth. Ms. Chaler, you are not forgotten. He remains in custody on $10 million bond, and his sentence hearing was scheduled on November 5th, 2021. So if anybody did have any information regarding John, of course, we'll link the number. But it's you need to contact San Mateo County Sheriff's Office. I'll put the number. Please call Detective Gordon Curry at 605-363-4051 or email gcurry@smcgov.org or call the San Mateo County Sheriff's Office Anonymous Tips Line, which they do have open 24/7, 365 for all cases. Call them at 800-547-2700. And this was written by Sergeant Joe Kang, and the case number is 74-2309, and it was released on 9/15 of 2021. And that is the case of John Arthur Getreu, Janet Taylor, Margaret Williams, and Leslie Perloff.
It's a lot, and I hated it, but I'm glad he got some sort of punishment and that the girls' families got answers,
I agree.
or at least some sort of answers.
Right. Growing up in this area, they always said, like, when you're hiking in that area, you want to go in a buddy system. And it was like we didn't care, because we knew that area. We knew everybody who would hike those trails because we had hiked them so often. We saw the people who were hiking them daily. There were a few people that were really weird, which we found out later were like bad people, but take a moment with our team as we pay tribute to the victims of this ruthless assailant. Please join us in a moment of silence as we honor the victims. Seeing this,
There's a reason why they were weird.
right, and like seeing this case and doing the research, a lot of the hiking trails that they were found over by were trails that I used to walk with my friend Christina and Jason all the time.
It's not the animals that you have to watch out for, it's your fellow human, unfortunately.
Right. And a lot of the time, guys in today's society are just like, I don't understand why women choose the bear. This is the reason. Because with a bear, I know exactly how I'm going to die horrifically. Absolutely. In somebody's bowels in the bear.
But you'll at least go to feeding them for another day kind of thing. You'll further the food chain. Human kills you, you just go to waste. As horrific as that sounds.
I mean, yes, but I mean, not quite where I was going with that, but yes, I'm not serving myself on a bear buffet or anything like that. But it's one of those things where it's like, I've met horrible people in my life. I've met nice people, but also going through the rehab facility I did go through, horrible people were in there with me, and it was, anyways. So that's our story for today. I am going to tell you guys some good notes because we like to end on a good note. So, Rachel, would you like to know?
Or at least we try to. At least
We do.
Sometimes doesn't help.
Would you like to know some good information?
Yes, please. I need some good after all of this.
So, our Facebook page has 67 followers now. We have 107 on Instagram. Our YouTube has gained 4 followers in the last 2 days. We now have 23 followers on YouTube, and on our Spotify, we are 3 away from 100.
Holy fucking shit! That's awesome.
I know.
That's insane.
And we only have one Spotify play for yesterday, which was Brotherhood Bombings and Bloodshed. But, I mean, we have, on all platforms, people have consumed 2,498 hours. Yeah. I mean, that's good for us. And we redid our logo, and we redid our backgrounds and our banners.
And so these numbers are just after we've rehashed and came back. So the fact like all this is happening is pretty awesome.
It's pretty fantastic. And on top of the fact that we branched out and we opened the YouTube, it does take me a little bit longer to do it. I went from doing it in 2 hours, a little under 2 hours, to now it takes me a full 8 hours with pictures and cuts and adding this and adding that and subtracting this. But it's worth it. It is so worth it. And I am sorry.
We don't make any money off of this whatsoever. We just do it because we love it.
We are. And I mean, like, my friend Jeff, I love Jeff. I actually have a Washington topic for him. He has specifically requested something from Washington. So I was like, okay, I'll do it. So that's at a later date because I'm still working on it. But he's like, are you making any money? I said, absolutely not. We are putting more money into this than we are actually getting back.
Oh, definitely, but it's more for the joy of knowing that we have other ferals out there listening.
Hands down.
Makes us a little happy.
Yeah, and that lady that I met at Walmart the other night, where she was just like, stay feral, and I was like, stay feral. Like, so on that note, ladies, gaydies, and theydies, stay feral.
Bite the hand. And we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Okay, bye.
That's all for this episode. Stay feral, and we'll see you party possums next time.